Excellent. All right, cool. Well, let's jump in. Thanks to everyone who joined today and everybody who's watching the replay. It is the last Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and this is going to be our funnest session of AI for smart people yet. I'm sure of it. I'm Cheryl Wilson-Griffin. I'm the CEO here at Legal Tech Consultants. And the AI for Smart People series is really designed to bring together thought leaders and experts from across the industry to really try to educate the industry and make this information available, interesting, and also not tied to a product, right? We're hearing a lot of marketing language. We want to talk about the real world here. And so we have some great guests today, and we'll jump in on that in just one moment. We will be taking a hiatus for a couple weeks for the holiday. We'll start back up December 13th and then go to a monthly session. We have Nikki Shaver from Legal Tech Hub, and she's going to be joining us to talk about her insights on what law firms are really talking about AI, what they're saying on investment, where they're going to put their money, what they're concerned about. She's going to bring us the behind the scenes Wizard of Oz stuff on the 13th. So I hope everybody can join us for that. But this session, we are going to talk about some of the fun stuff of AI. And I have probably the two folks who know the most about fun stuff here in AI, Jerry Bowie and Kassi Burns. And so would love to just kind of jump right in and allow you two to introduce yourself. Kassi, you're in my upper left, so I always start there. Would you like to introduce yourself first?
Yes, I am Kassi Burns. I'm an attorney based in Fort Worth, Texas, and I work big law, but I've worked many other places before. I've worked on the service provider side. I've been a doc review attorney, and my guiding principle has always been to follow the technology, which is what, leads me to AI and emerging tech. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Excellent. Jerry, how about you?
Yeah, so I have a surprise announcement that I saved for this meeting. I have a new role, and that's as interim CEO over at OpenAI, surprisingly.
He's replacing Sam
Altman. That's exciting.
No, I was still the managing director at FTI Technology Consulting. And, I focus on digital forensics. I'm a testifying expert witness. And, I am charged with also seeing what's coming down the pike as it relates to emerging data. I am the product owner within digital forensics for Microsoft 365, which definitely has a AI component to it now, especially as of November 1st with the release of Copilot. I also help advise Interpol. I'm part of their Interpol Metaverse expert group, and I'm also part of the Interpol Synthetic Media expert group. So I'm involved in two initiatives over there with that law enforcement agency. Yeah, and just really like Kassi, based in the DFW area, a great hub of e-discovery folks out here, by the way, in the Dallas Metroplex. But looking forward to this conversation.
Me too, absolutely. I had no idea you were both in DFW area. That's so fun. Yeah, you guys are throwing down. The e-discovery folks are tight down there. All right, excellent. Yes. Well, let's jump right in. Let's talk. So, Kassi, I think you've made a great transition for us, kind of thinking about following the technology. So your background doesn't scream out like follow AI, right? So what kind of made you kind of want to jump into this 2 feet and right at the beginning?
Yeah, I think back in the old days, back in 2008, whenever I first got into e-discovery as a doc review attorney, 2 years out of law school, that was back when you reviewed everything. You reviewed cached files. You reviewed, every little image that's in the SIG block, all of it. And I just remember watching the progression of, well, now there's email threading, and now there's this, and then seeing TAR, and TAR to me was like a very disruptive, even though it may not have been widely adopted. It was just a lot of focus on, that combined with the amendments to the federal rules of civil procedure. What can we do to create efficiencies? And in my brain, someone who had to work really, really hard, you ate what you killed, you only got paid for the hours you worked, as a contract doc review attorney, and seeing if you have a strong understanding of running the technology, like maybe I can pull myself out of the weeds. And so it was like from a very what can I do to better position myself in my career, even though e-discovery is kind of like especially then a weird kind of like genre of a career in the legal profession. And I just knew I needed to learn as much about technology as possible. And so that's when I went and worked on the service provider side and managed a group of lit support analysts and consultants who were way smarter than me. And you just learn so much from that kind of environment. And it just always motivated me. You have to follow where the technology is going. And I think the past few years, it's been me seeing, these emerging techs like blockchain and other things. There's a curiosity of how does it work, but also how can this impact our career, and kind of pulling myself out of my e-discovery bubble and trying to look broader, as many of these tools are consumer facing. So that's really been my guiding principle all along. And I just, my brain is always thinking of this stuff, unfortunately for my husband. So
I've really, I actually have shown one of the conversations that you did, a podcast with your husband, to my husband. And I was like, see, you're not the only one, honey.
That was a great one.
I love that one. It was so good.
So good. Yeah.
And if you haven't watched some of Kassi's podcasts, that one, go check it out. It's really fun. And
thank you.
And it'll be nice for your spouse too. Yeah. Or your significant other. Jerry, how about you? What kind of led you kind of down that crazy AI path that you've been on?
Yeah, I mean, so I was doing proactive consulting, so a lot less on the reactionary side when I was at Ernst & Young and PwC. So we had used data analytics to try and triangulate fraud and misconduct within pharmaceutical life science companies. So it's, largely the behavior of those sales reps. And we were able to use that to identify bad behavior and kind of inform their compliance program on, prioritizing who to look at first, to do further investigations, ultimately to substantiate our findings, and then recommend some kind of remediation around that behavior. So, so it's largely data analytics driven. That is kind of the precursor to, statistical modeling and then machine learning. In fact, a lot of those features were being built into some of the monitoring programs that we were building for these drug companies. So, and obviously e-discovery and TAR and, the evolution of all that. So it's all kind of culminating now into what is the, GPT fad, which is like the convenient, user-friendly delivery of all of that AI. And that's really, I think, the crux or reason for its success, and taking the world by storm.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly right. And I think, one of the things that I think, we touched a little bit about it when we were chatting before, that's made this kind of AI and kind of this phase so interesting is that this consumer element has made it so accessible that everyone, even my dad, has asked me, okay, tell me about ChatGPT. What do I need to know? And it's like, well, technically you need to know nothing, but it's becoming so ubiquitous. It's almost like electricity, right? Like you need to know how it can kill you, what's cool about it, and how to use it, right? So how do you think that's going to change the way that we adopt technology inside legal, right? The fact that you can go home and play with it, but I don't have it at work. I can't use it at work. How do you think that's going to change things?
I mean, from my perspective, I think we'll have wider adoption. I think that as we talked about before, whenever TAR kind of sprung up, we heard the grumblings of the robot lawyers are taking over. But to be honest, it affected such a small spectrum of people within the legal profession, the concept of using TAR instead of using, maybe quite as many contract attorneys for document review. This is much more, as you said, ubiquitous. It's everywhere. Everyone's potentially using it. Marketing people, other business lines. And so what that's doing from a practical perspective is that's bubbling up to, general counsel, chief legal officer, and then they are in turn going to the partners that they rely on for advice and saying, what do we do here? And those partners who maybe never really had much thought of buying into heavy tech use, they're now paying attention to it. So the consumer, the external consumer or client is really, I think, driving the attention from from maybe just blowing it off as a flash in the pan to, we need to figure out what's going on here. We need to figure out how we can advise clients in various ways. And also, some of these clients are asking in RFPs, how are you using it in your own practice? So they're really kind of driving that conversation forward. And I think that there is a little bit of a generational shift of, we're starting to see, younger partners kind of in leadership positions, younger attorneys in leadership positions at in-house counsel. And I think that there is that urge to leverage technology to create efficiencies, because honestly, we're all working very hard. It's not an issue for me of someone's going to take our job away. It's someone's going to make our day easier. So, which I would gladly take, with the right risk, preventative measures in place, of course.
Jared?
Yeah, I think we'll stop noticing, actually, to be honest with you. It'll be so embedded in everything we do. It's like every transformational technology wave that we've been through, whether it's the internet or whether it's mobile, we all kind of scramble and talk a lot about it at first, but then there'll be specific use cases that work its way into our daily lives and we might not even acknowledge or recognize. Well, we will, because we were paying attention to it, but a lot of people will not even notice that it's being, part of everything they do. It's going to be part of every piece of software. It's going to be part of every interaction that we have commercially. So yeah, even interpersonally between ourselves. And, someone said that we're already cyborgs nowadays. It's like how glued we are to our phones. That's the same relationship I think we'll have with AI in its many forms.
Jerry, it's so funny you say that, because over 20 years ago, I studied abroad through a Rotary focus based scholarship, and I studied at the University of Canterbury in Christchurch, New Zealand. And one of the classes I took, talk about like seeing into the future, was a film-based study on how AI is represented in science fiction movies. And so the course curriculum was focused on, here's a movie, and then here are, articles that you need to read, because there's no book. But one of the articles I remember reading was 20 years ago, talking about how we are arguably already cyborgs, because we use alarm clocks to help us do this. We use this machine to do that. So I love that you said that, because it's just going to become more and more of, I think, a true statement to a certain degree. And I think how it's going to become subversive is very true. Looking at the Internet of Things, and you and I have talked about this before, Jerry, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, Internet of Things was such a buzzword in e-discovery. And now we don't really talk about it that much, but it is so everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Our cars have metadata, our washing machines have metadata, our doors have metadata, and we just don't think about it anymore.
Yeah, I don't want to show you, but the number of devices connected to my home router is ridiculous. It's like 300 devices, because of not just because of my main computing devices, but all the IoT.
Right.
And you might be in similar situation if you have smart devices for your home. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I get so frustrated when I'm in a hotel now and I can't just talk and figure out what's the temperature outside, what's going to happen today. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm not at home. I can't just yell at the guy and find out what's happening, right, from Alexa.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. All right, well, let's get into the fun stuff you guys have been working on. So, Jerry, I think I'd love to jump in with you and talk about that crazy ass studio that you have. It's got everything. You have a green screen, you have all the things. Like, talk to me about what's in there. Tell us about it.
It's such overkill. It's just out of control. It's so out of control. I've got a big studio light here. I've got another edge light it's all photographic or photography basics. And since I was a photographer, Nikon all day, every day over Canon. So I was a Nikon shooter, and I did wedding videography. And so all of that just kind of, and, I have this creative side that I can't help but express myself on LinkedIn, maybe to, my company's chagrin, but, I enjoy it. And no, they're very supportive. So yeah, no shortage of cameras and, equipment in here. For sure. And I think you got a peek at that during with my my Men in Black video, right?
Right. Yeah. I was showing some folks that even here in town last night, and they were like, how did you do that? I'm like, I have no idea. Maybe we'll find out tomorrow. Who knows? But so what kinds of tools are you playing with as part of kind of your learning and your
Oh,
education, like AI wise? Like what are you putting your fingers in? What are you trying out?
I'll let Kassi start with her experimentation with custom
Yeah.
GPTs. I think she's playing with that a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, yeah. So the way you learn is to get your hands dirty. And I don't like talking about things if I, haven't tested it out myself. So I do have a plus subscription to OpenAI's Chat GPT. Well, just OpenAI, I guess I should say. And that affords you the ability to build custom GPTs. And of course, before I build one out, to really help streamline maybe some of my personal things, I just was playing around just for fun. So it's so easy to set up. I mean, it is so easy. You build via a chat box, so you engage with it in the way that you will eventually have a product that you engage with. It's very much like an Ouroboros, like the snake eating its tail type of a situation. But I just played around with things that I find very entertaining in my own life. And like so much of my content, it's just like things that I thought would be entertaining. So the first thing that I did was I built out a GPT. I love writing my friends. I don't really have, and I love handwriting. And, my husband got me into fountain pens and stuff. I don't really have the time to do that. But, if I had the time to write my friends like I used to, doing it in a playful Jane Austen style is, something that I thought would be very entertaining, because many of my girlfriends, we love Jane Austen. We watch, the 1995 BBC version, and we have like our own little, like, oh my gosh, Mr. Collins, he's so like shocked by something. So my chat GPT builder was pretty much in essence an Austen related. Jane Austen is writing a letter for me, and my input is just like, hey, write a letter for me, a short letter for a friend, telling her about brunch I had with our mutual friend. And we talked about our mom's health, and we talked about blah, blah, blah. And it was really simple. I didn't spend a lot of time fine tuning it. And then the next one I wanted to play around with was a mashup of, I love skincare stuff, and I love the Lord of the Rings. So it's a smash up called Smeaglow, play on Smeagol, and kind of like glowing stuff. Anyway, it imagines Gollum is giving you skincare advice, as if you're a hobbit. So, and I did put limits in place, if anyone was asking for anything that seemed like medical advice, say that they wouldn't do it, or a specific product advice. And I just played, and it's just like completely silly. And it's kind of ties back to some things that I've done, because I have like an Instagram skincare like hobby account, and I became very obsessed with the idea of a Gollum themed like makeup palette. I don't know why no one's released it yet. So this is kind of a continuation with that minor obsession. And I even at one time did buy the URL Smeaglow. So, but anyway, like that all indulges like my own personal, like, oh, this is so funny. But I think really what that did is it let me go, okay, how would I convert this to, something that I do in my free time that I've had to pause recently is my podcast. And that I use little pieces of AI tools in different applications, but it doesn't all go seamlessly to end to end. And as someone who's self-producing all of that, like the time it takes to do this step, and then go to this other app to this step. So, my brain, I'm thinking, what can I do to build custom GPTs to make that process easier? So that's definitely something I'm going to be playing around, this weekend, of low risk, something I'm the subject matter expert of that I can validate at the end, and just see how far I can push it. So, yeah, that's how I've been playing around with AI agents and custom GPTs.
I love that. Well, and I think it's a real world use case, right? And probably one of the first ones that we're going to see become very ubiquitous, right? So, whether you're talking about a product or whether you're talking about a specific domain of knowledge, being able to just build a bot that you can say, hey, tell me about this, or how do I do this, or what about this? And that's something we haven't seen a ton of yet. But that's where we're going to be. And it sounds like you tested putting guardrails on it and everything.
Right. And also like the point of view and the voice and the tone, right? Because I think,
exactly.
what I would do is copy exemplars. These are LinkedIn posts that I really like. This is how I write. This is my writing style, and use that to screen it. And so that's something, you know, that will be part of that process, you know, because I don't have a book written by Tolkien of how I talk, but I can pull that content and share it so it isn't so, you know, corporate general, or it really does read a little bit more like me.
Right. So it can be on brand, which is going to be super important to each company to kind of have that right brand.
Right.
Yeah. My friend Kalina wants to build one that just has my Cherylisms, and it's like whatever you ask it, it'll come back with like a what's worth could happen, or what one of my common sayings. Like,
awesome.
Like, soon to come, coming to a screen near you soon. Well, Jerry, so let's hear about some of the stuff you're screwing around with.
Oh, I have on the on the branding side of things. I cultivate my brand on LinkedIn quite a bit, pretty prolific on there. I mean, they say that, your self brand is what you say about yourself, and your reputation is what others say about you. And so I'm always trying to use better workflows. And so part of the content creation workflow is using videos that have been completely created by AI. And so this is a secret here amongst the group, where all of my latest talking head posts have been AI. It's gotten
That's what I was going to ask you. Okay, great.
It's gotten so good. And if you've been paying attention, I've like trained my voice and my image for a while now. And at the beginning, you could even, I'm going to do this in my newsletter too, is show the evolution of the early days when when there was AI video kind of, trying to emulate the look and feel of who you are, the sound of your voice. And it's gotten to the point where if I didn't tell you, you probably didn't notice. There might be some little quirks still here and there. But all of my recent talking head videos, the news ones, the forensic weirdo news, it's all AI. That's not me. That's trained on, a fair amount of footage that I've created over the years, along with, my voice. And so that's what I've been playing with, and it accelerates my content creation. I don't know, multifold, where I can, keep up with the LinkedIn algorithm using AI. I wasn't able to do that previously. Even though I was prolific, it took up more of my time. Now it takes me no time at all.
Oh my God. I want to play around with that so bad.
I was going to ask, what's the tool's name? Yeah. Tell us what the tool's name is if you can.
The only reason why I hesitate to tell you the tool's name is because it will change, because I've been changing tools as different tools compete and get better. And so I don't think it'll age very well if I tell you now, but you can learn by subscribing to my newsletter. The link is on my LinkedIn profile page. But so you can learn about my specific workflow today, but it might not age well, just like my OpenAI joke at the top of the webinar.
I love it. Well, and Jerry, I couldn't tell that you were that you were computer generating it, but I was talking to someone last night, and I was like, I think he might be deep faking himself. Like, I don't know. I just have a sneaky suspicion, because why wouldn't you if you could, right? And you have enough content to do it.
And to Kassi's point, since I'm such a deep fake subject matter enthusiast, I don't want to say subject matter expert on that. There's plenty of experts out there that are tackling deep fakes, but I certainly am paying attention to it, especially being aware of how deep fakes are created and how they're detected and how they can be authenticated if it's introduced into the evidence stream on any of our e-discovery cases, because that's just what I do on a daily basis. I mean, I've been authenticating fake SMS text messages for years now, and you could do that through a simple website tool that'll fabricate an entire text message conversation, and those can be used in our cases to either accuse someone of something or exonerate someone even if they're guilty. So the next shift is a huge one into deepfake videos and Gen AI created synthetic media.
I literally had never heard the phrase synthetic media till today. So you've already taught me something, which I really love.
Well, I think that synthetic data is a working group that was announced for the NIST AI Safety Consortium. So I told you, Jerry, that's right up your alley. So
breaking
Yeah.
cutting edge. Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to be involved in that. I'll look into it.
Yeah. And it's funny. I saw, Kassi, that you were at the NIST conference, and I was like, I never thought the NIST conference would become the cool place to be. Like, how did that happen? Right.
Yeah.
I was so excited. I was nerding out. I really want a sweatshirt that has like NIST on it because it's so integral. You know, it's plays such a key part in our role as e-discovery professionals. And you know, I went up there on my own. I took a day off. I went up there because how often are you able to participate in these conversations so early on? And you know, I was just very, very excited. And I really, I didn't take many notes because I really tried to, in the session, really just be more present and focused and really kind of pay attention to what everyone was saying and not be looking at my phone. So, because I was really, I was so excited about it.
I love your approach though, Kassi, because what you're doing is not waiting around to be invited to the table.
Mm-hmm.
You go
I'm
and
inviting myself.
Yeah.
Like e-discovery people, like we have to, because people don't know who we are. They don't understand what we do. And I'm not willing to wait. And I want other people to do it. I don't want to gatekeep that information either. And I feel like that can sometimes happen. And there's so many strong, smart, super brilliant people who do what we do that aren't feeling comfortable, you know, going out and speaking and going out, you know, being on a panel, but definitely should, because they're just brilliant. There's just so many of us out there. And I really, as like one introvert to another, you know, I really encourage anyone, be involved in a way that suits you, that fits your, you know, your preferences, but don't feel like you shouldn't. Like and there are times I get involved in things and I definitely get the vibe that people are like, what are you doing there? And I don't really care, because honestly, there's nothing anyone else is going to say about me that I'm my worst critic. I have horrible imposter syndrome. I have just really learned to ignore the voice. So there's nothing anyone else is going to say about me that I haven't already thought before. And in a way that can be incredibly empowering. So that's like what I'm trying to do with it, at least.
I love everything about that, because that's something I've only recently like adopted finally. And it's like, now I'm getting to a certain age and I finally realized I can go anywhere I want. Like I can do whatever. Nobody could stop me. And it's like, you want to hear what's bad about me? I got a list. I know it already. Right. I don't need you to tell me, and I don't care if you do. Yeah.
Right. And I think it's good. Like I felt like my role, what I wanted to do there was listen to what other people had to say, because, you know, I do have a unique, and as so many of us in e-discovery have a unique perspective. And I think we have a role that could be played that I think is very powerful. A lot of the discussions were on kind of like the pre-development release side of AI. And for me, like I nearly jumped up and talked and said something, but like, you know what, I'm going to go sit down, because I feel like what I have to say right now isn't really adds much value to this conversation. So I'm not just going to go and grandstand for no reason. I think like that's, you know, I'm not saying other people were doing that. There were a lot of really interesting comments and thoughts being shared, but you really just kind of have to force yourself and be okay. Like, I'm not going to maybe make a million contacts here, but I feel like being present, it helps people connect you with your desires and your actual, you know, how serious you are about these things. So
I think that's exactly right too. And it's funny. So I, you know, we joked a little bit about OpenAI and the debacle that has occurred. And now, if anyone doesn't know, Sam Altman is now back at OpenAI and back as the CEO, and with a whole new board that is apparently still evolving, and maybe there's more board members coming. But, you know, I've just kind of picking up the mantle of writing about some of the stuff, because I've been focused on startups, and this is really kind of going to impact, I think, a lot of the way that startup governance and investors think about these things. And so I just started showing up, and then I got a call yesterday to be interviewed on kind of the OpenAI thing. So it's like, you just show up enough, and people are like, oh, you seem like you know what you're talking about.
I do love seeing your smile on social media, Cheryl. So more of that is a good thing.
Yeah. More energy, positive energy in the world, right? Not enough of that, I think.
Yeah.
Well, and I think enthusiasm too, because I feel like a lot of times, you know, some attorneys may feel like you have to be more somber when you're talking about things and more serious. And I don't think that's true. I mean, I've definitely had colleagues that have wanted me to come and do a CLE on a topic that was, you know, to their internal practice group. And it was, please make it fun. Like have it themed, have it fun, have it interesting. So I did a Nightmare Before Christmas themed CLE on, you know, the discoverability of generative AI. And we get the dry and the boring. Like, if we can present it in a way that's entertaining, that's also like very, very much on point at the same time and has interesting and important things to say, I think we're all really busy. And if we can make an extra hour just a little bit more enjoyable, and it makes the information stick, I think, a little bit more. You know, if we're all looking at the same like light blue with laser images around that's like the stereotypical image around, you know, like a person standing in front of a grid touching it, you know, like that's the imagery that everyone's using, and we get bored by it, right? So if you can present it in a way that's unique, I think it just makes the information stick a little bit more.
Yeah, I always joke that if you see me in like law firm blue, like that slate blue, I'm a prisoner and save me. I'm being held against my will. Yeah, it's like I'm blinking for help, right? So I guess I'm kind of curious, because over the years, you know, when I was in big law and in companies that maybe wanted to control the voice a little bit more, some of what I was doing was not all that encouraged or all that much love. But you are both kind of big voices, and you're both working for big companies. And you joked a little bit about it, Jerry, but you know, without, you know, how's it being received? I mean, I think you're getting a lot of great energy for both of your respective firm and companies. So how's that being received in the modern era in 2023? Whatever you can say.
I can. I mean, no, very supportive folks. You know, it's in a way, my internal marketing too. That's when, you know, having only been at FTI for 2 years, it's a way for everyone to like see my personality, see what I'm about, and, you know, let them know that I have this, you know, enthusiastic side to me. You know, sometimes I could be over enthusiastic, and that's when they'll have a chat with me. But it really, you know, they understand that, you know, social media marketing is done differently now. It's hard to get eyeballs on things. There's a lot of noise out there, and you know, you have to do things a certain way, and you have to do it the right way in order to get attention. So there's a fine balance that you have to strike. I'm kind of walking a tightrope, but you know, I have to do it. If I don't get that creative energy out of me, I would be miserable. And I'm doing it in a way that I think benefits not just me, which it may be construed as, but it's also, I think, bringing in business to the firm too. So
I would imagine so, yeah. And that's what I was thinking exactly. How about you, Kassi? Especially for a law firm, I mean, it's kind of unusual.
You know, I think it helps that I have partners that I work with that embrace it, they understand it, they're very supportive. I also, you know, you have to be careful. You have to be mindful of, first of all, I try to be I don't use the firm I work at as my own personal branding. And that's just like out of respect, because I don't want anyone at the firm to think, well, she's trying to make headway because she's associating our firm name with what she's doing. And I want to be very, you know, respectful and mindful of that, you know, and also be mindful of, there are some topics that I'm just not going to, it's too much in the news. It's too much, you know, if there's a potential that it could be a client or anything like that, I try not to go and do anything that's too hot topic, I should say. But more informative, more, you know, if you're old enough, things that make you go, type of like, what is this? And, you know, this could be an interesting challenge for us as e-discovery, or like, let's think out of the box a little bit, you know, let's think about how we could step out of our little bubble. And so I think it's just being very mindful and being very aware of what those limits are at the firm, that you may get, you know, you may get a slap on the hand, which understandably so. It's, you know, it's you have to be respectful of that. I think it's just striking that balance. And I think, you know, the feedback I've gotten of, you know, from my colleagues and from clients too is, you know, I think that they enjoy it because it is it's meant to be informative. It's not, I try to share information, educate, encourage, you know, that kind of a thing. It's not, I try not to do anything too flashy, you know? So I think it's just being very mindful of having that emotional intelligence, I think, to kind of like know your audience and know the guardrails that you should have around you, as Jerry was saying. So
right, make good adult choices, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there are things that you could say that would be very, you know, that would get you a lot of attention and make things bump up. But I'm not interested in sharing that kind of content. You know, I'm trying again, like I'm the tortoise, just slowly going along, sharing my thoughts, knowing that that's for different voices. That's not really, you know, what I'm trying to do. And I know Jerry doesn't do that either. So we have very, I think, similar philosophies in how we do things. So.
Well,
And I also think COVID like broke down people working from home. I think people want to hear the authentic voice. I don't think they want to hear something more than, you know, your traditional law firm marketing message, which has its purpose and it's very important, but they also want to hear from individuals. And I think that has to do with the broader use of influencer and content creation. Like that's just what we're getting used to be perfectly honest.
Well, and I think too, when you think about it, right, it's still a relationship business, right? People I mean, yes, they're probably calling your individual companies, but in a lot of times they're calling and they want you specifically, right? It's a relationship business. And so when you're getting your authentic self out there, you're building relationships, whether or not they actually know you personally or not. And when they have a need, hopefully they call you up, right? That's the game plan overall. So I'd love to get into your guys' backgrounds a little bit because you both have great backgrounds, and I think Kassi, you've carved out such a perfect niche for yourself that no one else is kind of speaking in the space, and it's this really lovely Venn diagram of like really technical, practical stuff and very legal, practical stuff, and merging them together in such a way that they're actually useful. Can you kind of, you know, how did you get to that space and how are you seeing the future? Like, where are you taking it from here? Where are you going next with that?
I mean, I will definitely say what I share on LinkedIn is honestly just my own internal monologue. Like it's just me talking to myself and I'm just putting it in LinkedIn. It's a lot of it like me going, ooh, isn't that a crazy idea? Or what about this? Or what about that? It's like my brain is always like churning like that. And you know, for me, as I said before, 5, 6, 7 years ago, I started up this hobby skincare Instagram account. And some of it was like a creative outlet. I just needed to like talk and connect with people. But also there was a level of professional curiosity because I see a social media feed like a Cal project. It's an active learning project where what's popping up top of my feed is the thing that's most likely to be relevant. And just kind of like playing around with it and also learning how like to communicate with other people and connect with other people. Like I feel in a lot of ways that made me a better attorney, and it just like created an awareness, and again like built up that emotional intelligence. And for me, I think some of it too is I work remotely. It's a way for me to not go crazy by just being home by myself all the time.
Yep.
So otherwise I would just be talking to myself out loud or talking to my dogs out loud. So I think it's having the confidence of, if I'm the only one who likes what I write, I am perfectly fine with that. I do it just because I think that there might be one other person, and even if they don't respond, they don't react, they may like it. And to me, there's a lot of value in that, because I think that there's so many other people that are thinking probably the same things. And it's just, you know, our e-discovery brains are present at all times. We watch a movie and we think about it. We watch, you know, we see that and we think about it. And I think like having that like kind of cool pop culture-y like tie-in, and that's something that Jerry and I connected on. Like I think we both feel very much like that same way of just feeling comfortable with kind of letting our guard down and sharing that part. But there's an educational aspect of it, we hope, you know, that like can kind of bring people together. And yeah, so that's really been my motivation.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, even your summary of some of the stuff from, you know, the recent Microsoft Copilot and the developer conference, I think you did such a great job of bringing out the notes that would be relevant to other people like us and in our field. for folks that weren't there, and kind of interpreting that and saying like, here's why it's relevant, right? Which is, we could all watch the same thing and not necessarily ever get to that, right?
Right. Right. And I think that there are a lot of us that do. I think like we in eDiscovery, we're at such an interesting cross section of, we understand the practical operational use of these tools. We understand the technical advanced aspects. We understand the legal aspect. And I think a lot of us, I don't think I'm so unique. I think so many of us are able to do that. And my hope is that, encourage other people to, go out and maybe do the same.
That's exactly how I see it. Jerry, how about you? You've kind of made a whole life for yourself here that's just bonkers. Tell us a little bit about your background and your backstory, your origin story.
Yeah, I played Danny Zuko in third grade in a play in Greece, if you know anything about the characters in the musical. And so I was like this Asian American kid that played Danny. And as soon as I was cast in that lead role, I thought I could accomplish anything in the world. Like, seriously, being an immigrant kid and just, people accepting me at certain points along the way made the biggest difference, and giving me the chance, the opportunity, the stage. So I'm just still like Danny Zuko. I'm like part of the Thunderbirds, and my wife is my pink lady. So, I anytime that comes on TV, I always watch Grease. Love it. Sing every word to every song.
Grease was the first movie we bought on VHS. I distinctly remember that. So I'm aging myself, but I thought you would appreciate that, Jerry.
For sure. Yeah.
See, it's so funny. We were having this conversation about VHS the other day, and the first movie I remember wanting to rent at the video store the day we bought it, I was young, was Silent Night, Deadly Night. It's like a horror movie about Christmas. I was not allowed to because I had a bunch of younger sisters, and they were like, no, move on. Yeah, keep moving. And I'm like, I can still remember the cover of it in my head. I'm going to go back and get it one day.
Are you a horror fan? Was that did you enjoy it, or was that traumatic?
You know what? I like horror, not gore, but horror.
Okay.
I like to be like traumatized. I want to not be able to sleep,
I've never seen that movie, so it's non-gore. Is it more like just thriller, suspense?
Right. It's more thriller. I mean, there's a little bit of murdery stuff.
I would say it's like
murdery.
It's typical. I think it's your standard 80s horror movie. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's first chorus verse for horror movies mixed with Christmas. Yeah. I don't know. I love it. Excellent.
But I'm sorry. I mean, just to round that out, I was thinking, what is my motivation? One is to educate, for sure. Just like, like Kassi, I try to do something educational. But two, it's being top of mind too. So when, a lot of times the need for a testifying opinion expert in digital forensics is like, you need it like that day, right? Like emergency. So much. It's like so much of what we do. Like, who can we interview to potentially fill this role? Because we need it. And I just want to be top of mind. Hey, why don't we reach out to that forensics weirdo guy? So it's a lot of like that sort of thing being top of mind. And also giving people insight into what a digital forensics expert does, and putting a funny spin on it. And there's just it's just an opportunity for me to really distinguish myself, because other forensic experts don't really do this, right? Just like lawyers, right? And their default personalities is just they want to mitigate risk. And the same thing with forensics people, because anything you say can be used against you on the stand. Your own words can be used against you. So I stay away from super technical stuff, even though I want to educate around the role. I don't talk about a lot of the artifacts that might come into play, because if I interpret it a certain way, I'm going to be locked into that interpretation, whereas every case is different.
Right. It's so funny. Because I saw you were testifying the other day, and I was thinking about, I wonder if any of his videos have ever come back to haunt him in a case. Not yet.
No, none of the social media
alive.
stuff. Yeah, not at all. I'm very careful on that front.
Yeah, I can imagine you're an old pro at that. Excellent. Well, and if anyone has any questions, please throw them in the chat. It's 11:47, so we'll start wrapping up here. Kind of thinking about, let's just jump on the OpenAI wagon one more time. Any insights there or advice that you would have for anything we can glean from that in the immediate for law firms, for corporate legals, for startups? What just happened, and how do we are there things we need to think about as any of those entities?
Kassi, I'll let you go first.
Oh, Kassi, you're on mute. Oh.
Sorry. Probably the only comment I would maybe reminder or word of advice to any new startup out there, just make sure you have your legal hold notice policies in place and silent hold notice policies in place. I don't have anything specific to say about this, but, I think it's always important I think a lot of, young companies may not be thinking about that. So I think that as new companies start out, legal departments, you got to think about having those robust InfoGov and hold notice policies in place. That would be the one that was probably, one thing from an e-discovery standpoint, I would say.
I love that. And it's kind of fun. The thing that I like about startups is talk about an environment with zero data, right? So whether you're on the G Suite or you're on the Microsoft Suite, just turn on all the features that are available to start with, right? It really puts you in a better place when you start with zero data and do it right the first time. Jerry, how about you? What do you have to say about this whole OpenAI debacle?
Yeah, I'm not going to comment specifically on OpenAI, but I think there's a central theme here, at least one that was pinpointed during all this was, artificial general intelligence, AGI. I think there was some philosophical conflict between, some of the leaders. OpenAI was originally, I think, put together to put a watchful eye on where artificial intelligence would lead, and that they wanted to ensure alignment with our human interests. And so, with the speed at which they were moving, or any of these artificial intelligence companies are moving, there is a fear that it will gain artificial general intelligence that might not suit our survival
interests. Our human needs.
Yeah. So I think that's an important topic, because people say that LLMs aren't going to ultimately lead to AGI. It's fanciful to think that, but while you're using it in the way that it looks like it's reasoning through some of these problems, or at least through the refinement process, I think about neural networks, and just that it's kind of working like the human brain works. It learns. Elon Musk is famous for saying that he never taught his AI on 4 wheels to read. And so the Tesla car, ultimately, with all the photographic and video reinforcement that I got, you're talking petabytes worth of information that it can sort through pretty quickly and find context with those things. It learned how to read, and that's how a human baby learns how to read, through context and reinforcement and getting feedback on whether it's right or whether it's wrong. And so over time, I do worry about AGI ultimately. So that's what I'll say about that whole drama. I mean, above the drama, which is really what was the central theme behind their conflict.
The foundational concern. Yeah. And sorry, go ahead, Kassi.
No, and I was going to say, I think if anyone else listening finds that discussion point and that concern interesting, they should definitely check out the NIST AI Safety Initiative, because that's something they're talking about. So, ensuring there's safety, ensuring there's trust in the use of these tools. And one thing they talked about in that workshop is there are a lot of things that we need to do within the next 7 months or whatever. There are, some required benchmarks that President Biden has issued through his executive order, but this isn't going to go away after 7 months. This is 7 years, 70 years down the road. There needs to be conversations around this. And I think a focus on making sure those discussions are multidisciplinary and from people from different, not just the developers, but the end users or people who are potentially impacted from a biased perspective. This is our chance. We shouldn't complain about it in 10 years if we had an opportunity now to be involved and help, guide those things forward. So that I think, piggybacking off of Jerry, I would add that point.
Yeah, and I think, my take on the whole OpenAI thing is really, if you think about it, it's a human. What happened was a human problem, right? People didn't talk to each other. They didn't have the conversations because the concern was real, right? Like the data officer's concern is that, the AI is going too far too fast, and then we're going to lose control of it. And that seems like something we should care about. But if only one person is talking to one person, we need everybody. Like you said, we need the diverse voices getting together and figuring this out. We got to do this together. This is a human problem to solve, even though it's technology, right? That just seems to be my takeaway. This is a human failure, basically.
Oh, you nailed it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a question here. Let me read this out. How problematic would it be to leverage generatives to help bring back Update Today and push back Bruce Campbell movies? Better put, how worried are we about trademark issues going forward? I love that. And my husband is like obsessed with Bruce Campbell, P.S. Jerry, Kassi?
I think that's a lawyer's topic, right? I mean, the trademark stuff is,
yeah.
And, the integration of generative AI in the entertainment profession, I think, is very interesting. I know that, the SAG strike has come to an end. I haven't had a chance to read in detail all of that, but I think that there are some interesting things that are going to be happening just from an entertainment perspective, the legal issues aside, how far are we from having an interactive, choose your own adventure movie? We're probably not that far. And then if we even want to take some of the generative AI capabilities in the boring legal concepts, like, will we have demonstratives that are virtual reality or augmented reality? I mean, just think of the impact of being in a virtual space or having a hologram of someone getting murdered. I mean, I think that would have much more impact than wonky, 3D art or whatever trying to do that. Like, is it going to be extremely close? But maybe not. But I can't believe that it wouldn't be, at some point in our future. And I feel like I even saw a true crime series that had photos that looked like they'd been augmented, and it was like augmented photos. So will these true crime series have, maybe not actors reenacting things, but maybe generative AI versions of them, and what are the ethics around that? I think there are so many questions about all of these things, beyond the legal, the ethical as well.
Yeah, and think about how effective debt prep is going to be if you can use a little bit of 3D to map to the exact courtroom that you're going to be in the witness box at, the configuration of the room, the distance from the judge and the jury, using Gen AI modeled after the cross examiner in order to practice different aggression levels that they might have when they're cross-examining you. I mean, expert witnesses are fairly seasoned, but what if you're just using fact witnesses and getting them comfortable around the environment and the kind of pressure that they might be under if they've never testified before? It's stressful. So I think that using these things could make these specific applications of these technologies, I think, are going to make a big difference for our profession down the road.
I hadn't even thought of that. See, you've now blown my mind with something new. Yeah, the idea of practicing, because I mean, there's enough information to know how they cross-examine, how aggressive they are in different scenarios. Oh, I love this. You guys have blown my mind already.
And I would imagine, even if it's not a generative version of the actual opposing counsel, even if you just have a generic, any other person, I think having that interplay with someone that's not your actual attorney, that probably creates a more real environment than we're play acting and I'm opposing counsel. So
trained on the material for the case as well.
Right.
So trained on the material to ask dynamic questions based on the dynamic answers in order to really get some admissions out of the witness. And so I said it here first, if we're talking IP, because this is just off the top of my head, this is like a valid software idea.
Technically, you have 1 year now, right?
Yeah. Well, you'll get that, and then I'll get the demonstrative, the hologram evidence in the courtroom. So
yeah, Cheryl's recording this, so it's on record.
Right, clock starts now. Yeah, I love it. Well, excellent. Well, thanks to everybody who's joined. I'd love to give both of you a minute or two to kind of give us some closing thoughts and tell us where you're going to be next. Promote whatever you have coming up. Kassi, you want to start?
Yeah, just follow me on LinkedIn. I'll chime in on something when I have time. If I don't, it's because I'm busy with work. And hopefully, if you've not listened to my podcast, I have about 20 episodes canned. They're currently on pause, but I'm hoping to pick it back up in the new year. And I will be at the ASENS Texas event in Austin on the 7th. So if you're going to be in Austin, please attend. Would love to see you.
Lovely. Excellent. Jerry, how about you? Bring us home.
I'm in trials for the most part through the end of the year, but I do make my occasional appearance. I'll be at the Masters Conference in Charlotte.
Oh, cool.
So you can catch me there. I think you were at the last Masters Conference, right, Cheryl, in Atlanta?
I was, yeah. I was up in Atlanta a couple weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great series that they've got going on. I think they did 13 or 14 cities. They come to you. But I'll be going to join in Charlotte with Mr. Adam Wheeler, who asked that question earlier. I don't know if he's still on. He motivated me to do that. And then there's a whole 2024 slate of things that I'm already committed to for like the first half of the next year. So I'll announce those in a more timely way when it gets closer.
Excellent. All right, great. Well, thank you both for taking the time today. I hope you have a great holiday and get a little time to rest and catch up. And I hope to see you very soon at Legal Week, if not sooner. So thanks to everybody who joined us today.
Bye. Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.